the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Yes! Here we go. Follow the money on a Friday. Ready for the playoffs. We'll talk NFL, picks and props with Adam Chernoff. We'll go out to Columbus in half an hour with Pat Forde. And we'll also go to South Bend in a couple hours. Indiana alum, our good friend, our doctor, Dr. Stephen Gebhardt, and a big bettor and a great doctor, and he's at the game on the 40-yard line. We'll take you behind the scenes about what's going on with the weather and everything he thinks from an Indiana standpoint as well. A once-in-a-lifetime game, he said. We'll go through the NFL card, the big playoff games, picks, props, win, lose, a lot to get to. Are you ready? We got snow. We got line movement. This is bananas.
I love it. This is exactly what we've waited for how long? Pretty much our entire lives.
That's right.
Right? The first real, true playoff that we've ever had. The 14 playoff was better than the BCS, but that was always a big-time sham. And now we're getting these home sites, and we were, debating back and forth. Can we please get some cold weather? Can we get some snow? And it looks like South Bend is going to deliver tonight based on the videos that we've seen so far today, Paulie.
Yep. We had the snow early on. And how about the move on Indiana? Almost every place down to 6.5 now, the total 50 here at Circa. I think this is the toughest game to handicap because of the Indiana, and look at the weather. That's Mike Golick earlier today. They're going into South Bend. They're lining up. They got the bourbon ready, hot chocolate, and this thing, and the snow started early, so they can't wait. But this one is tough because both things can be true. Indiana can be good, but they also played a lousy schedule. So what do we do where we look at Indiana, and I'm concerned that they beat Michigan 20-15, couldn't put them away, didn't play well, and then they got annihilated against Ohio State. And they certainly struggled offensively, and they couldn't protect Rourke. The numbers are good because when they played lesser opponents, and that was most of their schedule, they blew them out, ran up the score, and they were impressive wins. But now when you're going against a top 10 team here on the road, it's a tough handicap. This is, I think, the hardest numbers what to do with Indiana if you just think they just beat bad teams and they're not that good, or they belong and they're going to show it tonight.
Yeah, when you say, good numbers overall, in fact, you can't deny that they are number one in the country in run defense. They only allow 70.6 yards per game on the ground.
Yep.
And they were actually pretty good against Ohio State, and Michigan didn't do much against them. And now Notre Dame might be a totally different animal. They've won 10 straight games by an average of 30.7 points per game down the stretch here. People will obviously, say that their competition hasn't been exactly any great shakes either. However, that's to me the whole handicap. How much faith do you have in this Indiana rush defense compared to Notre Dame's running offense? Because they have multiple backs and Riley Leonard, whose rushing prop is 52.5. And when you look at Jeremiah Love and also Jadarian Price, those two backs are awesome. So do you trust the Notre Dame offensive line, maybe in the elements with those talented backs against the number one defense in the country against the run? Mm-hmm. I kind of do.
Yep. I love that Cignetti's used to this. This is a normal routine. Google me, I win. All his success at James Madison, and he's used to playing for championships and making playoff games. I think it's imperative that Indiana gets off to a hot start and gets the lead that helps out Rourke. But the other handicap is, what does he do? Because Notre Dame's 4-0 this year against top 25 teams, and we think Notre Dame is a good defense, although I'm concerned with what I watched against USC. Can Rourke take advantage of that? He's as low as 193 for his passing yards.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think elements also probably play a factor into that, yeah?
Well, I don't know, though, but that's I don't think you have a problem throwing it if it's just occasional snow. I think if it's not going to be windy, and it's not supposed to be windy,
well, I think
it's more, the 27-4 touchdown INT ratios there.
I will say this about USC. Again, Lincoln Riley's the head coach, great offensive mind, and they have weapons there, right? So, and yes, they look shaky in that game, but also Notre Dame had to lead the entire time, and USC had to throw basically to get back into that contest. So I don't think that was any – I think USC is actually a pretty good team. Their record was misleading because they could have had so many more wins. They just happened to blow it in the fourth quarter. The bet that I'm banking on tonight is the backup, I guess, Jadarian Price, because Jeremiah Love, his rushing prop is between 77.5 and 89.5. Now, if you take the lowest number available on the board, he's gone over that number 7 games this year. Well, look at Jadarian Price. When I bet him earlier today, it was 36.5. He's been over that number 9 times this year. They like to use both guys. And our buddy Tim Murray, who knows, I think, everything about Notre Dame football. It's his favorite team in any sport. He's telling me over and over and over again that Love is not healthy. So they're probably going to split carries a little bit. And all I have to do is reach 40 yards with that guy. And I think that can happen. Riley Leonard, by the way.
He's too low.
For the rushing?
Absolutely.
It's 52.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 50.5 here. At DraftKings.
He likes to take off, man.
Yeah. At DraftKings, does he have 100 yards, a touchdown, and they win? It's 6-1. That's available. You can also bet 2 touchdowns. But I think Leonard has a big game on the ground.
I think what might be too high, the passing yards, again, all over the map, as high as 185.5. He only went over that number 4 times this year. And again, if you think elements, snow, they get a lead. They're probably not going to, be throwing the football too much. I think 185.5 might be a little bit too high.
I think you have to look at this and get involved in play. I said the same thing before the Ohio State game. Now, they hung in there against the Buckeyes early on, and then certainly the special teams came back to bite them, and that could be enormous tonight, too. They handed them 14 points in that game. But if you see, again, a jailbreak, and the offensive line's a turnstile, and you just say it's Notre Dame against a lot of transfers and James Madison players,
right? I
think that's going to jump off the screen right away in the first quarter, and you get involved in play. The other thing is this guy at Caesars and Will Hill, Rourke is 14-1 to have the most passing yards this are the 4 games. So Powers is right. This is not your typical Notre Dame team. They can score. They have weapons.
Oh, yeah.
They have athletes. So they can, if this is 14-0 early, and then Indiana's forced to throw, or if it's a blowout in general, right? Largest lead, 16.5, by the way. Is there a scenario where he goes over and he can get garbage yards?
And they probably, again, completely abandon the running game because it's survive and advance here. One and done. I know I keep saying this, but Cignetti's not going to tap out, and they're going to want to try to come back as much as possible. I will point out that against Ohio State, he was 8 for 18 for 68 yards. The Buckeyes are 3rd in the nation in dropback EPA per play allowed. Notre Dame is number 1. So the Fighting Irish are even better than the Buckeyes, and the Buckeyes did not allow him to do anything in that game.
No time to throw.
Yeah. Oh, no, none.
No time to throw.
No.
So much has been made about this. Cignetti was asked about Rourke, and can he handle the elements, and does he think he can have a big game tonight?
I hope it snows 1.5 feet. We have a Canadian quarterback. Did you see him throw the ball against Purdue? I mean, this guy grew up like in the frigid north. He looked pretty good to me that night, so I don't think it's going to bother him very much. And so much revolves around that guy, right? Everybody else will find a way to stay warm, but it's not a concern. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. There could be snow on the ground. Both teams have to play on it. We've been practicing outside in the cold for a long time, and we played in it against Purdue. When we started the game, there was snow on the turf. It was cold. It was windy, so we've been through it.
All right.
Good answer.
Yeah.
How do you not love that guy?
He's the best.
Right? His sound bites are so good, and again, we've met people recently who are from the state. They have followed the team or that program more basketball than anything else their entire lives, and they're telling us, how did we ever see this coming? There's no way anybody here would ever tell you that they could. And that's the exact truth.
Mm-hmm. Are you surprised with the movement today?
A little bit.
I am.
A little bit.
Yeah. But again, this is tough. I mean, they were great against Nebraska. They beat Maryland, UCLA, a lot of cupcakes. Washington 31-17. Couldn't put away Michigan, almost lost the game. And then what happened against Ohio State? So they're hard to evaluate, I think. And the Notre Dame's tested, and you meant the long winning streak, how good they've been offensively. A lot of weapons. And 4-0 against top 25 teams. It'll be the ultimate I told you so game. If Indiana does it, okay, they're for real. Notre Dame, again, loses a big game. And if Notre Dame blows them out, Fugazi, that's how it's going to go.
What do you think, knowing what we know right now, season to date, what do you think the best win was for Indiana? Because they did absolutely pound Nebraska. That was never a game. They annihilated them. They went to UCLA, murdered them. UCLA turned out to be a pretty good team this year.
Well, the Michigan performance looks better because of what happened against Ohio State. But I would answer your question, I would say Nebraska, because it was 59-7.
Yeah.
And Ohio State has struggled with them at home.
Yeah, I got to be honest. They did not impress me at all against Michigan.
I was concerned.
No, big time.
That was troubling.
Yep.
I was expecting a blowout. Props. DraftKings. How many games will go to overtime? 1 plus 120. That's the entire playoffs. 1.5 over plus 450. 150 yards receiving is 4-1. Mitch can't believe it.
Well, I did research on this today. Can we? I'll save on this till the next segment.
Good. 400 yards passing, 10-1. 200 yards rushing, plus 550. First round only. Quarterback, 400 yards, 22-1. 200 yards rushing, 25-1. 150 receiving, 12-1. Passing yards, as I mentioned, just this week. Leonard's 9, Allers plus 750, Rourke's 14-1, Nico's 6-1, Ewers is 3-1, Howard 4.
Don't you want to take a quarterback on a team that's a big dog?
How about Clemson?
Exactly.
12-1.
That would be
blown out.
Yep, sure.
That could be a good one too. Yep, that's in conference wins. ACC a half under minus 170. Big Ten 4.5 over 145. SEC 3.5 under minus 160. It starts in a few hours. College football playoff kicks off today. No better way to get game ready than with VSiN's college football playoff betting guide. The must-have guide packed with everything you need to make smarter bets, including in-depth previews of every first-round matchup. The college football playoff with exclusive insights from the bookmakers and the brackets and all the picks from Mackin and Musburger. Get our holiday special in the guide through May 1st, $79. Lock in the deal today, vsin.com/subscribe, and get the Watch app as well. Up next, we'll get to the everything that's tomorrow. The 2 NFL games, the 3 playoff games, a ton of picks and props, a stat that'll blow your mind on the Pittsburgh game, and a great article from the death penalty to the playoff. An update on SMU and what they've been through since 1987. Straight ahead. Follow the money.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Sean Green and Ryan Kramer bring an energetic approach to sports betting to keep you entertained while sweating your bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN.
There is something to the idea of the smart teams might be zagging. You see all the best offenses in the National Football League have a fullback. For receivers, if you're slow, a lot of teams just rule you out, I guess.
Yeah, that was what always held me back.
Join Sean and Ryan every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN, right here on the Sports Betting Network.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We're going to Columbus next with Pat Forde. Sports Illustrated and Yahoo Sports coming up. Before we get to SMU and Penn State, we also have 2 NFL games tomorrow. Chiefs up to 3.5 against the Texans. Looks like Hollywood's good to go. Mahomes is good to go. We know that. Total up to 42 now.
Too high.
Yeah, I think you're right. And we also know that Houston's been so good in the first half and lousy in the second half. Texans 12-2 ATS in the first half, and now 3-11 ATS in the second half. I know you like the Texans. I think you grabbed 2 with the Chiefs once the Mahomes news leaked out, and for on-air sake, I gave out -2.5 with the Chiefs. Have you want to take the 3.5 now, or wait till it gets to 4?
I did touch 4 offshore. I think it was just yesterday. Came back. I don't know if it goes back to 4 or not. I would be intrigued by 4. I like the under more than the side, actually. D'Amico Ryan's 11-3 under the total against teams with a winning record. KC going back to 2010 as a home favorite, 73-38 under, and this team has been trendy. They're the same team. Every game's the same for Kansas City.
Yes.
You know, they go out there and they win 19-17 or 17-16 like every single week. So I don't think there's going to be a blowout here unless Stroud turns it over a bunch of times. And I don't think we're going to get a lot of points overall. Again, keep in mind that the offensive line there for the Chiefs, the left tackle, has been a turnstile.
That's right. Good point.
Mahomes a little compromised, and now he gets to go against Hunter and Anderson on the edge for Houston. Man, this is like the worst defensive line that he wants to go against this weekend.
Yep.
And where are you at with the other game then?
Yep. This is tough now because we have injuries. If they could only have Deontay Johnson, right, who didn't want to play and then was suspended, and now he's away from the team. For personal reasons, but still Ravens up to 7. Bateman might not play. Other injuries at the wide receiver position, but then you also have the history. Pittsburgh's 8-1 last night against the Ravens. They beat them the first game. 8 straight head-to-head matchups have gone under, and Tomlin's track record here of also will just take the dog too when it's close. I mean, going back with these point spreads, the dog has crushed it on this run between these teams. And it's hard to lay 7 here, even though you don't have Pickens. How about Art Smith? Well, we're like an old down, beat-up pickup truck where we need jumper cables to get going. Not a ringing endorsement of the offense.
Yeah, no kidding.
Easy,
well,
Art.
That also, I think, ties into the injury to George Pickens, and he's going to miss again.
Yeah.
I don't want – I mean, I can't trust the offense without that guy.
I know. That's true. But it's a big point spread. Now, Lamar, 0-5 ATS against Pittsburgh. A dog of 4 or more in this matchup, 8-0 ATS. And when the point spread is over 3, the dog is 23-4 and 24-4-3 ATS the last 20 years.
Wow.
It's a 16-2-1 run. And they're uncharted territory. You got to go back to 2012, the last time the Steelers were this big of a dog against Baltimore.
Yeah.
So you trust Lamar at home, even with down some key weapons, and like Sal Pal said, it's a Henry game?
I'm glad you asked, because as a single-digit home favorite since 2018, Lamar is 12-22 ATS. So he has been untrustworthy in this spot. This number would not be 7 if Pickens was playing, but if he were and the number was 6, I'd be on the Steelers. I was on the Steelers last week against the Eagles. I was wrong there. I would come back with them again this week against Baltimore, but I don't think I'm going to get involved because I think George Pickens means a lot to that offense.
Huge. Big for the division, big for seeding.
Oh, yeah.
And then what happens on Christmas as well. But I'm with you. I don't like Art's comments, and then the fact that you don't have Pickens, and can they keep up if it's a high-scoring game? But then again, 8 straight unders between these two teams. Powers made an interesting point. How many people are going to turn on tomorrow looking for the game, and they're going to put on ABC or ESPN, and they can't find it?
And, well, they're going to find the FCS games.
They will.
They're like, what's this?
What is this?
Is this the game that I have money on?
South Dakota State. What is this?
Okay.
Right? TNT.
This is the playoff I've heard about?
Yeah. Penn State and SMU. Love this SMU team. Great story. First team ever to win 10 games and going up from a group of 5 to a Power 4 league. ESPN.com in the 80s. SMU and Dallas synonymous with free-flowing money in college football. A small school in a big city that turned into a playground for rich boosters who would spare no expense to make sure their team became a major player. NIL, now it's legal, and the money's flowing in Dallas. SMU's in a major conference, cutting an unprecedented deal to forego television revenue for nearly a decade to get in the ACC. The chairman of the board, David Miller, it's a couple $100 million. I'm not losing sleep over it.
That's the quote of the year.
It is. I bet a lot of schools look at SMU now and go, oh, bleep, here come all the billionaires. We've been the whipping boy for so long, we're not going to blow it. There's a lot of pent-up fun to be had. You had Dickerson and James and the payroll and what they were doing. The governor was involved. You mentioned the 30 for 30. That is so good. It was so bad after the death penalty that when they returned in 89, they won 1 or 0 games 7 times in the next 20 seasons. Dickerson said, if you're not going to take it seriously, just get rid of football. Yeah. That pissed people off. They got June Jones in there. That helped out. But, the boosters stepping up, and also this article is so good. So they had Sonny Dykes come in, and they won 10 games. But then Sonny Dykes left and took the TCU job. Here's another strong alumni. Nothing rallies an alumni base more than being stabbed in the back. And what Sonny Dykes did. He proved to the world you can win here. You can recruit here. I get why he left to go to the Big 12, but there are a lot of pissed off alums, me included. And that also got them fired up and angry as well. And then they got Lashley, and the rest is history. And they're stepping up. And Lashley says, listen, these guys, this Hunt guy, worth $7 billion, Kleinert, worth $6 billion. They go through the list and the resumes of all these oil guy money and people that they have helping out. And Lashley says, my door's open. You want to chime in? I respect your opinion. Let's go. But then to come right in to the ACC, and here they are in the playoff, year one. This is incredible.
I'm here for it. The takeover by SMU in college football. Get a $100 million payroll, become bigger than Texas, become bigger than the Cowboys in that state. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. That's impossible. But why not? Right? Everything that you just said. And you can pay players pretty much as you want nowadays.
9 years.
Go out there.
9 years, no TV
Scoffed
revenue.
At
I don't care.
Who cares? Doesn't matter.
So
then go have a $100 million payroll and become a top 5 team and compete for a national title every single year.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I love this team. They get the big boys up front. I think they can hang against Penn State in the trenches. 4th in EPA per rush. One of the most impressive wins of the season. They beat a top 30 team in Duke, and they were -6 in the turnover battle in that game. Throttled TCU, beat Louisville, beat Pitt, blew out Cal 38-6. The stage was too big early on and spotted Clemson that 17-point lead, but rallied back, tied the game, and then the walk-off field goal. We know what happened there. But I think they'll be ready. I think that's going to give them experience that they need, and it's going to be a positive that they came out flat, still should have won the game against Clemson.
So that prop that you brought up earlier in the week, will any receiver have 150-plus receiving yards in the entire playoffs? That was 4-1 at DraftKings. It's now down to plus 250. I actually still think plus 250 is worth a bet. I went back and looked at every game log from every team in the playoffs this year. Jordan Tyson, Arizona State, had 176 against K-State. SMU had 2 players. Now, Maryland's out for the year. He had a $162 against Nevada, but Roderick Daniels had 153 in that game against Duke. Matthew Golden had 162 for Texas in the SEC title game against Georgia. Indiana had a player go over 160. Penn State's tight end had 224 against USC. Tess Johnson had 181 for Oregon against Penn State, and 2 other Ducks players had 149 in different games this year. I think there's going to be at least one. It could happen in the first round. Might happen tonight. Who knows? Maybe not.
I never know. Yeah, right.
Could happen right away tomorrow. And that is, will a receiver have 150 yards paced plus 250?
What do you think?
I got the quarterback, by the way.
Yeah.
So how about this? One quarterback in the entire playoffs threw for 400-plus yards this year, and he did it twice. But that quarterback will not be playing. Carson Beck.
Really?
He's the only quarterback, right? He did it against Mississippi State and Alabama. No other starting quarterback in the playoffs had a 400-yard passing game in the regular season.
Can they slow down Penn State rushing attack? Number 1 rush defense in the ACC. Well, if you're a prisoner of the moment, you're going to love Penn State then. After what they did against Oregon couldn't stop them, and SMU looked like trash for 3 quarters against Clemson. But full body of work, all the pressure's on Penn State, all of it. SMU, they're not supposed to be here. They come in they were in the American Athletic last year. Here they are in the playoff with a chance to win, and Franklin can't win a big game.
And I think that ties into it, right? Because what we watched against Oregon is who Penn State should be most weeks. And that means they have their backs are phenomenal. And they should be able to pound teams and use their athleticism to death. And they should be unstoppable. But they're not, because that guy stinks as a head coach.
That's right. certainly the weapons are there, and all the close calls they had in the regular season. It is Penn State 9 and 53. The early game tomorrow. Looking for some action? Our friends at First Bet have you covered. Sign up today, lock exclusive promotions. Watch and wager on hundreds of exciting horse races every day across the country and around the world. Promo code VSiN200. Claim a 20% rebate with your first 60 days up to $200. Head to firstbet.com today. Up next, we go to Columbus. Pat Forde will be covering Ohio State and Tennessee. Is Day safe with a loss? His thoughts on the games, the portal news, and what he thinks tonight with the Irish, and what he said. You won't believe what he said on his podcast about Notre Dame. Straight ahead, VSiN, Follow the Money. Paulie Howard, Mitch Moss, the Sports Betting Network.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
9 minutes left, second quarter. Florida leads Tulane 3-0. Line came down to 10 before kickoff in that one, and Ohio beat Jacksonville State by 3 earlier. Let's go out to the Progressive guest line. Pat Forde, the best when it comes to college sports. On the Progressive guest line with Sports Illustrated. Read him every day, and also would love his podcast, The College Football Inquirer, and he'll be covering Ohio State and Tennessee tomorrow. Appreciate the time, sir. How about what you said on your podcast with your colleagues, that you think the last time Notre Dame won a huge game was 1993?
Yeah, I mean, really, like a major game, I think that's it. You only have to go back 31 years when they beat Florida State, when there was 1 versus 2 in South Bend. So, you can find those periods when they've been really good, competitive, win 10 games, win 11 games, but then they get up against an Alabama or a Clemson or an LSU or an Ohio State, and what happens? They get smoked. So there's still some proving to do for Notre Dame starting tonight.
Yeah, agreed with that. Now, how about this, though, to maybe flip it in their favor here, why it could be this different for this year's team? Everybody that you just mentioned, right, the Blue Bloods and the teams that are really, really good in the playoff this year, I don't think these teams are as good as the best teams that we've seen in college football over the last 5 or 10 years, Pat.
Oh, I agree with you, Mitch, no doubt. They are good.
Yeah, right.
But this is not Georgia 2021 or 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Alabama 2020. And even Michigan last year, 15-0, and I think probably more dominant than these teams. And, I give Oregon all the credit for winning all their games, and I do think they're the team to beat, but they're not overwhelming. And when you start digging into them statistically, even it's a little bit like, yeah, they're good at this and they're good at that, but is there anything where they just can completely overwhelm an opponent? And I don't think that exists for them or for anyone else in this. I think Ohio State has the most elite talent, but we've not seen them play up to it on a couple of very important occasions. So I think it's a wide open tournament. I can't wait for it to start.
How good is Indiana?
They're good. They're sneaky good. I mean, I think even now at 11-1, people have had a hard time getting past the brand name bias and the laundry. But if you look, very good run defense, good defense overall. They can run the ball. They've got some playmakers on the outside. They've got a good quarterback. I think, they can match up pretty well with Notre Dame. They've got to handle the start. They've got to show they can stop the Notre Dame running attack. But if they do that, I think be prepared for a 60-minute game in South Bend.
How about the Notre Dame offense? Is this offense good enough to make a deep postseason run?
I think that's TBD. I like them. They've gotten better and better as the season's gone along, I will say. And I think Mike Denbrock has gotten more out of Riley Leonard. They're not a super flashy passing game, but they can make plays in that area as needed. And then they are a very good running attack. Great back in Love and a very good offensive line. Mike Denbrock, a really good coordinator. Leonard also dangerous with his feet too. But we'll see when they get up against a really good defense. What they've been able to do to a large degree is beat up on some pretty average defenses. And I think they're going to play a tougher one tonight. I think Notre Dame can go all the way to the championship game, but I also have concerns about them, like I would say about every team in this entire tournament.
Yeah, sure. And Paulie said this in the first segment of the show. Maybe this is an example of you can tell right away what's going to happen in this game, where just maybe Notre Dame is going to overmatch Indiana for those 60 minutes.
Yep, I think if Notre Dame, especially if they get the ball first and just roll down the field, look out. It'll be a long night. And the other thing there is I think Notre Dame with their defense can cause problems for a fairly average Indiana offensive line and a quarterback who doesn't seem to read blitzes all that well. So give each team one possession each, and if it's looking like Notre Dame is much the best, that could be unlikely to change. Now, the flip side of that is, Indiana came out great at Ohio State. Went down, scored, stopped Ohio State. You're thinking, oh, my gosh, what's going on here? Then there was their punting game that let them down. But I think Notre Dame just has that level of excellence, both running and on defense, that is a tough combination if you're not fully ready to go man-to-man with them.
Great call in the summer. We had you on. You said SMU can win the ACC, and they were 14-1. They almost did, but here they are in the playoff. How good is Jennings, and if they can keep this one close? And I think all the pressure is on Penn State tomorrow morning.
Agreed. Talk about a guy that's had a hard time winning big games. Hello, James Franklin. And, big spot here. And SMU, they've been underrated. They've been a little bit disregarded. They came out and the moment looked too big for them in the ACC championship game. But then they showed what they were made of. You're down 17 and you come back to tie the game, and probably should have taken that thing to overtime. They just, they let up a big kick return and then they lose on a 56-yard kick. But they've got a very good defensive line. They've got playmakers on offense, and Kevin Jennings, he's a wizard. Now he can also make mistakes, but if he's on and dealing and making plays off script and out of the pocket, I think he can put a lot of stress on Penn State.
Okay. How strange is this Ewers story? And as you guys talked about on your podcast, what the portal has done to college football with the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre to say the least. In that there are players trying to decide their future while they're also trying to win a national championship. And the one thing that was better, the only thing that was better about the 14 playoff or about the BCS, the season ended early enough that people could make decisions afterwards instead of trying to make them before or during the biggest games. And so, the Ewers situation's fascinating, perhaps unprecedented. Like, hey, Quinn, we hope you can lead us to a national championship, and then we might like you to leave because we've got Arch Manning here. So, it's things are always interesting in Texas, but this is taking it to another level.
And then you can say, hold off NFL. I'll go play somewhere for $4 million.
Sure, because I don't think the NFL wants to pay him that much.
Yes,
I think he's looked at as a third round, fourth round, fifth round guy. Or, you can go be a hero. You can go back to Ohio State and be a hero. Who knows? He was there for a cup of coffee. There's a lot of places that would love to have Quinn Ewers on the college game.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Pat Forde, he is on the Progressive Guest Line. The road team or the road underdog this weekend starting tonight that you give the best chance to be in late would be who?
I think it's Tennessee. I think all the pressure in the world is on Ohio State in an atmosphere that could get toxic quickly. I think both these teams are fairly slow starters offensively, and the longer this stays as a kind of a slog, 7-7, 6-3, whatever, if that gets all the way to halftime like that, I think that place just puckers up immensely, both the fans and the players and the coaching staff. And I think Tennessee has the personnel to stay with them. The one thing, I think Tennessee's linebackers are not a great unit, and so can they take some advantage there? Maybe hit some crossing routes or get them in some coverage mismatches that they don't handle well. But I think Tennessee's defensive front is elite, going against a not great Ohio State offensive line. And we'll see if they're good enough to cover those great receivers, and we'll see if Ohio State is smart enough to throw the ball to the receivers instead of trying to pound it up the middle like they did against Michigan.
Yes. What if they lose? What happens to Ryan Day?
I don't think you can keep him. I don't care what Ross Bjork has said. I mean, I think if you close the season losing as a 3-touchdown favorite to Michigan for the fourth year in a row, and then you go into the playoff as a touchdown favorite and lose in the first round with a team that they really thought was going to win it all. Great overall record, losing all the wrong games. And I don't think that it would be a tenable situation. I don't know why he would want it, because he could get a lot of other jobs.
Yeah. Who do you think they would want under that scenario?
Who would Ohio State want?
Yep.
The great question. I mean, there's no shortage of people with ties to the university who are great coaches. I mean, Mike Vrabel sitting out there, Marcus Freeman, but he just signed a new contract, so that probably takes him off the books. Then you can go on past that. I mean, if Ohio State's one of the top 2 or 3 jobs in the country. If you're going to go outside the family, I'm calling Dan Lanning and just say, hey, are you sure? And move on from there. Rhett Lashley, I think, is an up-and-coming star in this business. Kenny Dillingham's an up-and-coming star. They would have no shortage of interested candidates, but they'd also probably realize what kind of pressure cooker it is if you can be either asked to leave or pushed out at 60-10 or whatever Ryan Day's record is.
Yeah, love your work. Keep enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
Yep, love his podcast, College Football Inquirer. Read him, Sports Illustrated. and he'll be at Ohio State and Tennessee.
I went back and looked today. So Tennessee, their defense allowed 20 points in 2 games this year. Ohio State, their defense allowed 20 points once. That's it. And on the road against Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Georgia, Tennessee averaged 18.7 points per game. 46 the total now, down from 40. What was the peak number on that?
47.5?
Yeah, I think so.
As I understand it, there'll be a lot of Tennessee fans there. There was a kerfuffle with putting in a code for Ohio State people to get tickets, and it leaked out. And then Tennessee fans, you had to put OSUFB or something.
Oh, this is so good.
Oh, it was ridiculous. Win, lose, up next. I can't believe what happened last night in the Thursday night game.
Got a good thing coming. Just wait and see. It's a good.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network. last night?
Wow, winning.
Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Molly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Some of these Thursday night games with the anytime touchdowns have been nuts. The Vikings-Rams game, where a couple guys for the Vikings scored that were huge prices. Look what happened last night. Estime first touchdown 16-1, as high as 19-1 at FanDuel. Gus Edwards 2 touchdowns plus 850. Omai Aiken-Haskins 10-1 anytime touchdown. He gets in the end zone. Davis plus 650. That was at Caesars. Probably higher than that at other spots. Burton 16-1 anytime touchdown.
Anytime.
Yeah. Palmer plus 360. Herbert 275 yards passing was plus 285 here at Circa. Both teams to score first quarter plus 160. I think head-to-head that was an 11-1 underrun. And the game flies over. 2-point conversion, successful 3-1 as well. That game had everything last night.
Now, how about this? 20 different players caught a pass last night. How often does that happen in the NFL?
Yeah, and in that type of game, no one can get a stop. High-scoring Sean Payton punts. 4th and 5 from midfield with 4 minutes.
Couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, what are you doing?
First of all, I mean, it was completely ass backwards. Because Denver, the first 3 drives, 70-plus yards right down the field every single time.
Yep.
And yet after that, they really couldn't do much.
Right. Mike Florio tweeted, Denver's going to be a problem in the playoffs.
No,
and
they're
then
not.
It went sideways. I know.
No.
I know. You're right. We also, for the first time since the mid-'70s, had the successful fair catch free kick. Dicker from 57. There have been 29 fair catch free kicks in the regular season in history. 15 of the last 16 missed. Phil Dawson, Harbaugh said it's his favorite rule in the whole sport. They study this. Dicker, how about all the guys who didn't even know this was a rule? There were guys less like, hey, what's going on? Do we get the ball at the 1 now? Why aren't they rushing? The guys in the Chargers didn't know what the hell was going on.
I know.
Dicker didn't even know the rule until the special teams coach. They tried this every Friday. They say they work on it.
Sean Payton said at halftime, it's something that we practice. I love the rule. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, you never see it, though.
I want to see it more often.
Hasn't happened since 2019. Sly tried it from 57. He missed. Phil Dawson, Harbaugh trotted him out from 71. Same scenario, 2013. He missed. But you got to go back to Ray Wershing in the mid-'70s who nailed it. That is awesome. Michael's totally in his element.
Oh, it's a great rule. Yeah, he knew exactly what was going on.
Right. Set the whole thing up.
Yep.
Oh, it was great. Subscribe, be part of the team, VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos. This is a cleanser, right? Timeline cleanser going back. Nature is amazing, tweeted this out. Remember back in Tahoe, the Bears just go out, let's go for a swim, huh? Bring the Cubs out here. Let's cool off, right? Now it's all snow. But coming in, it's hot out. Come on. Look at everyone on the beach. Like, what is going on? They're stunned. Right? They just come out of the woodwork and they just go right in the water.
They're like 30 feet away.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
There's 4 of them.
But I love this. The Bears come in, take a bath. They're playing in the water.
Yeah.
They're not going to go bother the human beings and vice versa. Can you imagine being there live? That'd be one of the greatest moments of your life.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, just hanging out. And then go on about their business. Absolutely. And the dog's got an issue here with the pop-up with the fountain here. Coming in. The French Bulldog's trying to figure it out. Get a little water, come up. Get that, okay, sensor. Can I touch it? I'm thirsty. Where is it? Oh, that hits me in the face again. Can I try again? Like a little something behind him. See, it's going up behind him. Hey, he's entertained for 2 hours. He's set. I forgot a couple. Bulls plus 775. One at Boston.
Yeah, catching 14.5.
That's right. Yep. And the Blazers 3-1. I'll tell you, this is an interesting discussion about MVP. Because right now the Nuggets are the 6th seed. But Joker's numbers are ridiculous. And the on-off numbers are historic. Their offensive ratings in the low 90s. The defensive ratings like 120 when he's off the floor. They're like a minus 21 point differential. But it could be Westbrook part 2. Are you going to give the MVP to a guy on like that 6 or 7 seed? And SGA's going to get the 1.
Yeah. What if the Bucks are the 3 seed?
That too. That he's got a case. That's right.
I'll go one deeper. What if the Knicks overtake the Celtics in the Atlantic and win that division?
I like Cat, but he didn't get any support out of the Tim Bontemps.
Well, he's way too low. He's 7th.
Yeah.
He should be like 4th.
Yeah, I'm with you. What a performance last night, no doubt. Lose some. Broncos Chargers under 43.5 down to 41.5. Ohio from 2.5 up to 6. Beat Jacksonville State by 3. Bad for the books. Thunder 4.5 up to 6.5. Won by 6. Clippers Mavs under 228.5 down to 217.5. No Luka. Clippers outright. Clippers are in first place. And Sam Houston State from 6.5 down to 3.5. Ton of turnovers from Clay Helton's club, and that did him in. There it is, win some, lose some.
Let me throw this scenario at you tomorrow. First run of the college football playoffs. Let's say Ohio State is awesome and they blast Tennessee. I'm talking like 42-10.
All right.
Snooze fest. Offense looks awesome. Tennessee does nothing on offense. Are they favored against Oregon in that next matchup?
Oh, boy. I guess that's possible because they had a chance to win the first game in Eugene.
And they were favored on the road in Eugene.
Yeah.
In that game. So now make this a neutral. And if they look just...
Boy, oh boy.
If they shock the world here, because again, not many people are picking them.
Yeah.
They expect the worst tomorrow, and maybe it doesn't go that way. That actually could happen.
Well, everyone's talking about, changes. They're going to tinker with this, whatever. Forget about expanding. The first thing you do is fix this. You were better off the Big Ten team losing that game. What was Oregon's reward?
Right.
Penn State gets SMU and then Boise if they win. Oregon doesn't even get a home game. They get the bye, but they got to play maybe Ohio State in a Rose Bowl.
I would actually say that would be the first thing I would fix, is that the teams that are getting the bye, they should also get a home game.
Yes.
How does Oregon not get a game at in Eugene? Arizona State, same thing. Boise. Every one of those teams in Georgia included, the teams of the bye should no doubt have a home game. I don't know. That they have, again, this is far from the finished product. And they won't. They're going to concentrate on going to 14 or 16 teams first, is my guess.
Yep. Texas 12.5, 50.5 against Clemson. That's the middle game. Klubnik was 12-1. He's now 10-1 at Caesars, most passing yards.
Now you're seeing that money in Texas to go up again.
Yeah, and here's your blowout scenario if that's playing from behind and throw. You could argue Clemson played one good half the whole season against a good team, and that was the first half of the ACC title game.
Okay.
Blown out against Georgia. Lost at home against Louisville. Wasn't close. Almost lost to Pitt. Should have lost to Pitt.
Yep.
So I just don't know how good this team is. And then the Georgia fiasco. I mean, just run out of the second half against Georgia and blown out as well. But, again, it's hard when you look at this and these teams combined for one win over teams that are currently ranked. And Clemson just got it in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas, the defense is good. The talent's there, but you played Georgia twice, and how do you lose to Georgia? How do you lose the SEC title game? How do you lose that game?
Totally gave the game away.
I know.
Game should have been, well, I'm not going to say over at halftime, but it should have been...
Comfortable lead.
Absolutely. And their best win by a mile was the final game of the season against Texas A&M. Right?
That was a good win.
They went to Michigan and killed them, but
right.
Again, Michigan, I think people are putting too much stock into what Michigan did against Ohio State. From a Michigan standpoint, they were not good this year. That's a rivalry game, and maybe that's going to be the telltale sign tomorrow. If Ohio State loses, it's going to be like we should have known. They lost as a 3-touchdown favorite to Michigan, and Michigan stunk this year.
Yep. I absolutely agree with Pat Forde too. If Ryan Day loses this game, that's it.
Oh, he's done.
I mean, the fan base is they're already livid.
Right.
And certainly everyone's made the point, but they're right. Fans are going to turn on him from the get-go.
What has to happen for him to keep his job then? Is it one win? Is it,
I don't know.
Beyond that?
That's a good question. Because, okay, so you beat Tennessee at home, and it's close. What if you go to the Rose Bowl and get boat raced?
Mm-hmm.
Considering you've lost 4 in a row to Michigan, that's also how they think they're very important and great things.
Well, I think there's a really decent chance in my mind where that game is 20-13 or 17-10. Like Tennessee's offense doesn't do much at all, and yet their defense,
I could see that.
First and foremost, their front, like the front four, they are awesome with NFL prospects. They dominate a decimated Ohio State offensive line, and they don't allow the Buckeyes to do much on offense, and it's boring and it's a punt fest, but that turns into a drama-filled game too because you don't know every points are going to be at a premium potentially, and I love that kind of football. Like this late into the season, so alt unders, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, special teams could decide some games too. SMU's got a great kicker. That's something else. Take us wherever you go. You got your holiday shopping, your parties you're going to. Great holiday special. Get the VSiN app. Sign up now. Get the app. Every best bet, every host, every guest. The betting splits, DraftKings and Circa. The dog videos, the betting guides. Make this holiday season unforgettable. VSiN.com/subscribe now. Get the winning edge today. VSiN.com/subscribe. NFL picks, props, weather. Adam Chernoff next. VSiN Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network.
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.
Stormy, really, with a